Hello again everyone, Deflect here, Firm and Fair Gaming. I wanted to bring you a video on the Plasmatech Vanguard. This is a .DPS again. It is crazy good damage. And if you don't believe me, you can check it out on parsley.io. Don't look at the dummy parses because you're fighting a static enemy that has no abilities. Look at the raids, and you will see that Plasmatech is always up there in the raids. They do very well in the raids. Before I get into kind of the build I'm running, I'll just get a little quick overview on what they do. So the abilities that you have dots, so damage over time abilities. Plasmatize is one of them. You can see it ticks for like 28 seconds, and you also have incendiary rounds, which ticks for less. It ticks for 13 or 14 seconds. And then this susceptible damage taken from tech tax is increased. That's with your Plasmatize. Also, you have Shock Strike. Shock Strike adds a burn, but it's a very fast one. So Shock Strike and Ion Pulse do the burn. So you can keep this up a lot because Ion Pulse you can use quite a bit. And you can see it just refreshing there. So I want to get into a couple things before I get into kind of what you want to do. And yes, you can use a specific rotation, but the problem with this specific rotation is, A, stuff dies. Stuff is always going to die. So if you're doing it on, low-level items or trash mobs or something, stuff is going to die. It will be an issue. You won't be able to get the perfect rotation. Bosses usually have knockbacks. Another problem with the rotation. So I can give you a kind of what to use the abilities for, and you can kind of put it together. Now I will say there is a generic one that I can show you that if it works out you can use, but yeah, it will be a lot of keeping your dots up. So that's the main thing. 3 dots, keep the dots up, keep them on enemies. As for the combat proficiencies, I'm not going to read all of them. You guys can do that. I use Iron Will, Shrap Satchel. I use Reflective Armor. I use Electro Shield, Battlefield Training, Frontline Defense, Sonic Rebounder, and I'll show you why I use that. It's not for you, it's for your group. I also use Re-Energizers and a Power Focus. The Sonic Rebounder is used with Sonic Rebound, and it will grant your teammates a nice little reflective damage and barrier against it. So it will bubble your teammates. It won't do it to you, but it will help them with some damage taken. That's why I run it. As for my build, same as always. Yes, it is not perfect. No, I do not care. You can get as close to 12-13 as you like. I was tired of min-maxing, so this is put in the amount of effort I put into this was the amount to get it good enough. It runs very well at this, so I'm not overly worried. 12-13 is what you're shooting for. 1590 is what you're shooting for on accuracy. I'm 7 over. That's not bad. Now, because I don't like switching between 70 and 75 content gear, I just run the 75 content gear. And if it's capped, it's capped. I don't care. If you want to switch these out by all means. Because your power and your mastery will be capped at level 70. So I'm way over. It is capped. Don't care. I use superheated fuel. Battle focus increased all elemental and kinetic attack critical chances by 100%. Great. As for the set I'm running the Meteor Brawler. And you run it because Shock Stride and Stock Strike. Energy Cell is reduced by 4. Shock Stride, Tactical Surge, Energy Blast increased damage dealt by 10 seconds for 15 or 10% for 15 seconds. And then activating Battle Focus gives you Ion Fall for the duration of Battle Focus. During this time, dealing damage with Ion Wave, Ion Pulse, Tactical Surge, Strike, Blitz, Flak Shell, almost all your abilities, blah, blah, blah. When battle focus ends, it detonates, dealing elemental damage to all enemies around. Scales with ion. So that just means that, you know, when you're dealing damage, if you click this before you start dealing all the damage in AoE, you can tick it off. Remember, you don't have to wait the whole cooldown. If you go damage, 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 and enemies are getting low on health, click it. It explodes. It will do lots and lots of damage. And of course, one piece amplified champion. Your best amplifier for this class is Tech Wizardry. And that pretty much sums up where it is. I'm at 3,200. I don't believe you want to go over 3,500 crit because I believe there's actual huge diminishing returns after 3,500. So just keep that in mind. As for what you want to do, dots. Keep your dots up. Plasmite. Incendiary rounds. And ion pulse. You have all three. All three are up right now. That is what you want to do on everything. So remember, keep your dots up. But before you go into battle, load your shoulder cannon. So it pops up. You have 1 round, 2 round, 3 round, and 4 round will charge in your shoulder cannon. For your shoulder cannon, you will want to use these missiles with your big abilities. So you will want to use your shoulder cannon with Shock Strike, Plasma Flare when it's lit up, Ion Wave, and High Impact Bullets. So that is what you want to use your shoulder cannon with. Before you go into the fight, you also want to Ion Wave because next Plasma Flare deals 40% more damage. So if you have your dots on your enemy, you can use a missile, and it does good damage. But you have to be close enough to use it with this, with your Shock Strike. Remember that. And your last missile for your Ion Wave. Lots and lots of damage. Again, keep the dots up. When you see they're falling off, you will want to refresh them. That's the main focus with this. You want to keep all your dots up at all times on all enemies, and you can use Explosive Surge to spread your dots. So, in an ideal world, remember that, it will go something like Plasmatize, Incendiary Rounds, and you can use, with your shoulder cannon at that time, Battle Focus, your Adrenaline, Shoulder Cannon, and Shock Strike. Now, your items will already be on there. That is assuming you already precasted your 4 shoulder cannons and your Ion. So it'll be Plasmite, or Plasmatize, Incendiary Round, Battle Focus, your Adrenaline, your Rocket, to Shock Strike. And then you'll be able to, if you want, you can do a Rocket, High Impact, an Ion Pulse to keep your dot up, a Rocket, a Plasma Flare, and a Rocket, and an Ion Wave. In the ideal situation, which will keep your dots up. Is the situation going to be ideal? Probably not most times. That is an example of a rotation. Don't jump down my throat for saying that's the end-all be-all rotation. It isn't. That's just an example of it. Keep that in mind. But that's things to watch out for. I rarely use Artillery Blitz. It just doesn't hit very hard. But if I want to move and use it, it's nice that you can move and cast it. It doesn't do a lot of damage. Trash enemies, sure. But it's not going to do a lot. If they're going to die like right away, if you hit them with all like 4 shots, then fine. But that's what I really use. These are my interrupts again, like I have on every class. Don't forget about your Adrenaline Rush. It's very nice. It helps out. And then you can have Hold the Line, grant 6 seconds of immunity from all movement impairing effects, knockdowns, and physics, and increase movement speed by 30%. So, if there's any questions you have on it, leave a comment below. Like, share, subscribe. But your main thing is just your ideal job is to have dots on everything. Lots of dots equals lots of damage. And then you'll get buffs from other people and stuff, which will really increase your damage. But that's the overall gist of what you're trying to do with this class. So, once again, Deflect, firm but fair gaming. And if you could like, share, and subscribe.